I was no longer hungry. The food didn't taste that good anymore. I had no appetite anymore. But since the food was in the house, it was there, I had to eat it. I didn't stop until everything was gone, although I wasn't even hungry. For many years, I would eat and then feel regret and guilt because I was not having an appetite or wasn't even hungry anymore. And it could be anything, especially when cereal were in the house, or when I was eating out, when the bread basket was always a big thing. I knew once the bread basket was on the table, I couldn't stop myself. So what I did, I've told the waiter, we don't want bread, because I knew once it was there, I would eat, I wouldn't stop, and then I would still eat my main meal and my dessert I ordered afterwards. Food noise all day and a mental fixation on whatever was in the house or whatever was in front of me. That was all I could think of. So when I was working from home, for instance, I already had food, I was already eating, and then I would work, and then all I was thinking about was what was left. So I would go back to the kitchen, would have a look into the fridge, would have another snack, would go back, and I would still keep on thinking about the food. And that mental fixation and the food noise wouldn't stop until everything was gone. When there was cake in the house, it would start with one piece, then I would have another one, and then another one. And I just didn't feel satisfied. And only once everything was gone and the whole cake was gone, I was feeling satisfied. And especially those days, I tried to normalize everything, and I've told myself, oh, maybe you just have a big appetite today. Although I knew I wasn't hungry. And I said, well, it's just today, but then guilt kicked in. And I looked at the empty plate, the entire cake was finished, and then I felt bad and regret and shame. And I was always so confused. I didn't know what was wrong with me, I didn't know why food had such a hold on me, why others could live their normal lives. And for me, food was all that was on my mind. So much that I had to keep on eating. Like, my friends were normal. When we ordered takeaway, and we had the same meal, my friend could say, oh, I'm full, I have this later or tomorrow for lunch. And I was looking at my empty plate and I didn't understand how she could stop and how I had to finish. Like, why couldn't I say, oh, I keep this for tomorrow? So my conclusion was, I must be addicted to food, addicted to sugar, but in general food, especially to sugar. And being addicted to sugar was my only explanation. That was the only thing that felt normal to me, and I thought I'm just different. So what I did to solve that problem was avoiding certain foods. I would not even bring it in the house because I knew once it was there, it would be gone in an instant, and when I had to buy these food, like cookies for instance, I would take 2 out and throw the rest away before I got home because I didn't trust myself around these foods. Often I tried to buy healthier versions like low sugar or low calorie snacks. I would still finish the whole thing, or I would bake my own stuff. I would still finish the whole thing in one go. It didn't help. I've tried so many things and I always felt like I'm out of control. So I came up, okay, you need plans, you need to create plans to feel in control. So I've written out like full schedules. I planned my exact meals, the typical thing, 3 meals and 2 snacks. But even when I had my snack at 3 p.m., I wanted more. I wasn't satisfied. And the only thing that actually made me feel satisfied was when the whole thing was empty. And I didn't know back then, obviously, what I know now, but I always thought my main problem was that I don't have discipline, I needed more control. But eventually every plan I've created, no matter how balanced it was, it would collapse and I would be right back where I was. So I would read books like Atomic Habits and, all those self-help books that promise you that you feel more in control and that you are going to be more disciplined, but nothing worked for me. Like, I kept on eating when there was no actual hunger, and I tried mindful eating. I tried everything for 9 long years, but nothing would actually fix my problem. So for a long time, I then thought, you're just following the wrong diet. And this is why I've been on every diet possible. because I genuinely believe that I just need a better diet. And what I know today did not even cross my mind back then, because it didn't have a clear trigger or anything. So I thought, must be the wrong diet. And I kept on eating, creating my plans, until a turning point came when I was asking myself a hard question. Having to answer that truthfully was very hard. And the question was, okay, you've reached your goal weight 1,000 times, but were you ever able to eat peacefully over the past decade? And the answer was no. After 9 years of dieting and all this stuff and food noise and everything, I was exhausted. I didn't want to fight anymore. I didn't want to have another Monday waking up thinking, okay, new start. I didn't want to have another weekend thinking, okay, a last time, and then you start over. I didn't want to write another diet plan. I didn't want to cancel another thing because the food didn't fit my diet. I was exhausted. I was done. And that was, with that answer, was what I truly needed, because I've realized it must be something else. Back then, I didn't know that my perceived solutions or the right things were actually what caused the fight over and over again. For a very long time, I had an idea in my head of what healthy eating or a balanced life looked like. And it's not that I had a whiteboard hanging on my fridge. It was like a mental idea, in my head. And there was a silent line I didn't want to cross. Meaning I would allow myself 2 cookies, but 3 cookies would cross that line. And when that happened, I felt like I failed, so I kept eating and thought, well, just finish it and start over tomorrow. Although I gave myself permission to eat cake or cookies or whatever, it was false permission. It wasn't true permission, because it was linked to the idea in my head. And once I broke or crossed that line, I had to start over tomorrow. I kept eating because I thought I wouldn't be able to eat like that again tomorrow. The urgency I felt having to continue eating came from pressure, from scarcity, and not actually from the food. It was the fear of missing out. In my head, I thought, okay, just finish it now, because tomorrow things will be different. And that voice in my head, like that unbearable urge, was horrible, and it wouldn't shut up. That's the food noise. And I just wanted peace, and I wanted silence, and that silence would only come by me giving in. So what I had to do to no longer eat, although I wasn't hungry, was I had to practice myself out of scarcity. And I did that by teaching my brain and my body that food wasn't going anywhere. I had to show up for myself every single day, over and over and over again, and basically prove my brain that it was safe, that I can trust myself. Wasn't easy, didn't happen overnight, but it actually did work. And then I also started chasing satisfaction and no longer the image in my head. I stopped trying to stick to that perfect idea of balance in my head and started to live. I just started to eat what I truly wanted in the moment and how much I truly wanted in the moment. And then my peace came from satisfaction and no longer from silencing the urge. For the first time in 9 years, I stopped commanding myself from the outside and actually started asking from the inside, what do you actually want, Samira? And no longer telling her from the outside, this is what you're going to eat today. Back then, I didn't know all of that. And it is so important that you do not think that there's something wrong with you. Your brain just wants to protect you, and your brain thinks food is going somewhere. So you have to practice that. You have to create real peace and trust. I hope this video was helpful. I see you in the next one. God bless. Bye.